What is going on, Pokemon TCG enjoyers? I have a new style of video today. I'm kind of been inspired by like how in traditional sports there's like some film breakdowns sometimes of like plays from a match, and this was a really awesome play between two world-class players. You know, Henry Brand, former world champion, Brent Tonisson, #1 ranked player last season globally, and they just had a really awesome match. And this is a play, I think one of the highest level plays I've seen on stream in a while. So I really wanted to highlight it, and I wanted to go through all the lines and explain why it was such a great play and why I played around so much. And then after this, I have a play from Brent that I also thought was awesome that I'll also break down as well. So just to start, I need to give you guys some context. This is what happens on Henry's ultimate turn. He's going to do Rare Candy Duster, and he's going to knock out Brent's only Regidrago in combination with a Terapagos. And this is going to be important because obviously Brent can't attack with Regidrago next turn. Henry's going to go on 2 prizes, so like the only Pokemon if Brent wants to attack next turn easily with is going to be his Radiant Charizard. But this isn't the play I want to highlight. The play is going to come later on Brent's turn, but the play is actually from Henry once this Area 0 Underdepths gets bumped. But I'm going to skip ahead a little bit, and I'm just going to give a little bit of context here where Brent does Nest Ball for the Charizard. He Ultra Balls for the Noctowl, or for the Regidrago. He's going to Noctowl, and like it's important you see what cards he grabs. Iono Vessel, and it's important because now Henry has the knowledge that he's going to be getting Ionoed. And then we'll get to, I think now is the time where we'll see the play here where the Temple is going to come down into play and Henry has to discard. And I'm just going to wait for the camera angle to switch before I pause. So one thing I do want to say is if Brent was going to play Temple, he should have played it as like the first action of his turn before doing all this stuff. Because now Henry has perfect knowledge of there's an Iono in the hand, Brent's going to probably Radzard, all this. It's not a big deal. I'm sure Henry could have guessed anyways that a lot of this was going to happen, but just something to keep in mind. So, okay, so before you guys guess what to do, I've actually set up the board state here, and I've linked it down below. So you guys can click on this. It'll pull up the board, and then you can kind of see what resources Brent is down and what he has left. You can just like click on the deck and the discards. If you want to switch between the boards, you just click this button. So yeah, I'm going to let you guys pause here if you want to try by yourself. Otherwise, I'm just going to analyze what actually ends up happening in the game. So, all right. So Henry is thinking here through what he needs to discard, and he's gonna discard Boufflant, which I think is a big surprise because initially, even myself included, I'm like, it's just automatic for Terapagos that you just discard your Noctowls when your stadium gets bumped. That way, later in the game, you can just like rescue Stretcher for them, or like what's it called? Like they're used already. There's no use for a Noctowl on the board. It's actually not protected by Boufflant, so it can die to Ciaran. But he discards his Boufflant, which kind of makes no sense on the surface because now Brent can just knock out our Terapagos with Radiant Charizard, right? There must be a reason Henry decided to discard his Boufflant here. And I'm going to jump over to the board now and kind of go over, I think, Henry's thought process of why I think this play is so smart, right? So obviously we're letting ourselves get knocked out now. So we have to ask the question, what are we gaining by allowing ourselves to get knocked out? So we know Iono's coming. So if I look at Henry's hand that he had before the Iono, like he has game in it if he doesn't get Ionoed, right? So that's obvious. But we know Iono's coming, so we know we're not going to get to keep this hand. So let's just go over some scenarios where we actually get rid of the Noctowl, and I'll explain why it's actually a really bad decision to get rid of Noctowl. All right, let's say Noctowl goes away. Brent puts the fire, we get Ionoed, and we just draw 2 random cards, right? So, and this should be Regidrago on the bench. And then we get hit for 190 with the Boufflant. So you have to ask yourself, right, like, what is my play if this happens? Like, there's not a great play for Henry here, because if he wants to win, he has to take 2 prize cards on his turn. And he knows if he gets Iono, the boss goes to the bottom, so his quick search has to be for the boss. If he wants to win, he's going to have to draw Area 0, which he only has 1 left, and then 2 bench Pokemon, and then quick search for the boss, right? That's almost impossible. You're asking for 3 perfect cards because Henry doesn't have 2 little Pokemon left. He can't Poffin for 2 if he draws Poffin. So he would literally need 3 perfect cards. He would need Stadium, like Nest Ball or Pokemon, Nest Ball or Pokemon. The odds of that, I'm not going to calculate it, but I'm going to guess is around like 2% maybe, right? So if our Terapagos gets hit here, if we don't pick it up and we don't heal it, we're in trouble because Brent did get the Fez after his Iono. So Brent has 6 cards. We know Brent has VSTAR left. We know Brent has 2 E-Switch left. We know Brent has, what's it called? Boss left and Switch. So we know it's not out of the realm of possibility that Brent can just win the game next turn with like a boss and phantom dive, right? So in this scenario, like what do? We can't attack because Temple's in play. So I mean, I guess you could grab your own area 0, right? And then like maybe like bench a Pokemon and then like knock out this Charizard. But that doesn't really advance our board for us that much if we do something like this, right? Like we take a prize, but now we've unlocked Fez for Brent. So Brent's gonna basically, his deck is not that big. So it's not that unrealistic for Brent to be able to just put together that boss play that we described, right? And you can just boss a Boufflant and you can Phantom Dive and knock out Terapagos for game. So I don't think it makes sense for us to quick search for area 0 and then just knock out the Charizard. Assuming I even draw a Pokemon to do this, right? So let's put this back for a second. Okay, well what happens if I grab Penny? Well, Penny can help heal my Terapagos, right? And I guess I probably should be back here. Penny can heal my Terapagos, but now I didn't quick search for area 0, so now I can't even attack anymore because Temple of Sinnoh blocks my double Turbos, right? So I guess in this scenario, it's like I guess maybe I can just put up a Terapagos again and take a hit. But then like if Brent just puts together Regidrago on his next turn and he just like attacks, well, what do I do from there? Because I can't do anything. Like let's say next turn Brent is able to get the fully powered Drago, like this, for example. Yeah, what do I do here? Like if I just get hit with a Phantom Dive, for example, and I take, you would take 140, then Brent would probably put the damage like this if I had to guess. Something like this. Yeah, what do I really do in this scenario? Because now I have 0 way of knocking out this Drago. I still have no way of knocking out any of Brent's 2 prizers. And on the following turn, if Brent has a boss, he can just bring up Fez and then knock out Boufflant for game with the Phantom Dive. I guess we'd be forced to Turo, right? If we had it in our hand. I guess this hand has it. But if I had the quick search for Turo, then again, that's another turn of me not getting area 0. That's another turn of me not progressing on my board. So I just think if you like leave the Boufflant in play and you just let yourself get hit, you're gonna get stuck here where your like quick searches are almost like determined for you because you have to keep grabbing stuff like Penny and Turo. Eventually you grab area 0. You're really at the mercy of like the 2 cards you're gonna hit off the Iono. They have to be really good to give you a chance to quick search for like other things. So I'm just gonna refresh the position and go back. And now I'm gonna explain why I think the it's so smart that we what's it called? Discard the Boufflant. So let me just back together. Okay, this is here. You know Iono's there. Leave the rest for now. There you go. So okay, the tempo comes down, and now we discard Boufflant. So now we're allowing ourselves to get knocked out. So let's ask now, what is that unlocking for us? Well, I think the most obvious thing it unlocks is it unlocks Fez. You get to draw 3 cards, which is good. But remember before I said you needed like the area 0, then like boss, all this stuff. I guess you would need double turbo as well if our active gets knocked out, right? So that still seems really hard to me to hit. So we actually have something else that gets unlocked by our opponent going down to 1 prize. The Dusknoir putting them at 3 was actually super relevant. So if Brent goes down to 1 prize card, then the big thing for Henry is Blood Moon or Saluna can actually attack for free. It takes 0 energies to use Blood Moon due to the ability. So now, if I get Iono'd, all I need to do is just draw a Nest Ball, an Ultra Ball, or a Blood Moon, and then I can quick search for the boss and just knock out one of the 2 prizes. And Henry has Counter Catcher as well. So now, when we get Iono to 2, we can draw a Nest Ball, we can draw Ultra Ball, we can draw Blood Moon, or we can draw Counter Catcher. All of those cards win the game, because then you can just quick search for the other one. So, and then Brent doesn't really have a good option, like if he doesn't play Temple, right? So if Brent doesn't play Temple, for example, we leave area 0 in play, and then the Boufflant is still in play, and like we still get Iono, let's say, right? Well, now this is a completely different scenario, because now with area 0 in play, all I need to do is, as Henry, is if I just draw a basic Pokemon, I can just quick search for boss, and then with 7 on my bench, that's enough to knock out the Mew EX for game. Or now that area 0 is in play, let's say he does this, and let's say we whiff, we don't hit Nest Ball or Ultra Ball to win the game. Now, if you quick search for Penny, and you pick up the Terapagos, and you put it back down with the energy, you can actually just knock out the Zard since the area 0 is in play, and then now your board is like clean and like fresh, because there's no damage on it. And then next turn you can quick search for boss, and you can just knock out this Noctowl, right? So Brent can't really afford to leave the area 0 in play. It just makes it too difficult for you to win. So yeah, that's why it's like you're basically forcing him into this Temple play. Now by discarding Boufflant, I think Brent doesn't really have a choice but to knock out the Terapagos. Or maybe Brent could have like passed or something and tried to set up the, what's it called? the Regidrago in the back, but then you actually do have time to like quick search for something. Then you could quick search for like area 0 on this turn, the next turn quick search for boss or something. So maybe that was the best play for Brent. I'm not sure. But now, since this happened and our Terapagos dies, it's super easy to win the game, right? Like in the example of this hand, is you don't even need defense. You can just nest ball for Blood Moon. But it just gives Henry so many outs. So we went from the original scenario, you needing Temple or Area 0, double Pokemon plus boss, like 4 cards. So you need to hit 2 perfect off Iono plus draw for turn. But now we have like a lot of outs, like Nest Ball, Ultra Ball, Blood Moon, or Counter Catcher. So I'll play the clip for you so you guys don't have to wonder what actually happens in the game. And we'll see it come to fruition for Henry. I'll spoil it that he gets rewarded for his great play here. So he draws 3, and he guys flip the script, and he hits Nest Ball, Ultra Ball. All those were outs like we discussed. And he can just grab that Blood Moon, and then he can do the quick search for the boss's orders on any of the 2 prize Pokemon, and he just kind of wins the game. So super, super high level play from Henry. I think a majority of players would miss that. They would probably just autopilot to just discard the Noctowl. But it just shows that Henry really understood what Brent's win conditions were. And Henry understood the odds of how high it was of him just drawing win on his turn if he just allows himself to get knocked out. So great play. Hopefully you guys like that one. And then now we'll go into a play done by Brent that I think was also a really, really high level play. Hey, if you want to support me, check out my Metafy group. I post puzzles and board states and go over a lot of things similar to like what I'm doing in the video right now. Then I also have weekly classes you can join. Actually, one of the classes we like watch the VOD of the whole match between Brent and Henry together, kind of pausing and analyzing. I also do normal coaching. If you want to get individualized coaching, it's just a great way to support me. But I'll still make free, high quality educational content on the channel regardless. So check it out if you're interested. Otherwise, just enjoy the rest of the video. All right, so this is the second play I want to go over, and we're going to start off as Henry's turn. It's his turn 1, and he's doing his fan call right now, just so you guys can get to context. And he's going to get Noctowl, Hoot, and Pidgey. And it's just important so that like Brent can kind of see what's in the hand. And then Henry's going to play an Ultra Ball. He's going to discard Dusclops and another Ultra Ball. He's going to get a second Pidgey. And the rest of his hand is Boss, Iono, Terapagos, Noctowl. And the reason he's going to get a second Pidgey here is because if he gets Phantom Dived, he wants one of his Pidgeys to survive. I guess he's kind of saying to Brent, like, if you want to knock out multiple, you have to go with Ciaran. Which, honestly, I don't think is that bad for Brent because he hasn't V-Star powered yet. So, like, he can just V-Star to make another Drago. But anyways, Henry goes for this line. And then I kind of want to go over what Brent ends up. So heading into this turn, right, just before Brent does anything, I kind of want to discuss like sometimes how you can kind of contextually guess what's in your opponent's hand. So Brent for sure knows that one of Henry's 4 cards is knocked out because it came off of Rotom. But you can probably guess that Henry also has like Nest Ball or Terapagos in his hand, so that he can activate that Noctowl on the next turn. So now if you're Brent, you look at his hand here, he does have Iono. So if he wants to, he could, what's it called? Draw more cards. But he knows Henry only really has 4 cards. I don't really know if that's going to advance his board state a lot. And I'm just going to like skip a little bit ahead here, what Brent ends up doing. And we'll kind of go over why I think it's such a great play. He's going to Boss Hoot Hoot. You're like, oh, he's just going to knock it out. And he's going to Grasping Draw. And I think this play is like crazy smart because Brent isn't in a rush to do anything, to be honest, right? If he just takes the first 2 prizes, he's going to kind of be in the driver's seat. And then if he can just have like a second Regidrago set up in the back, it's almost impossible for Brent to lose. So Brent is saying like, hey, like I know you have a full bench. You actually can't bench Terapagos. You can't bench Area 0 and make your bench larger because Terapagos isn't there. And I saw you discard your Dusclops last turn, right? So I know it's probably unlikely that you can get rid of that Duskull. And I know for sure, or not 100%, but most likely 2 of your 4 cards are Noctowl plus Terapagos. So you would need like Rare Candy Dusknoir, or you would need Night Stretcher to get the Dusclops out of his hand. So Brent actually does respect the fact that Henry could have Night Stretcher. I don't think it's that unrealistic that Henry would discard Dusclops because he has a Stretcher in his hand. So by bossing the Duskull, what's it called? Henry can't retreat into the Pidgey, for example, and then get free retreat. if he evolves to Noctowl, or if he gets the Dusclops and evolves to Noctowl, he's going to need to get a switching card off of the Noctowl or off the Pidgeot if he wants to attack. And then with the 4-card hand, it's really hard for Henry to put together like a Prime Catcher plus Double Turbo plus Area 0 plus fill the whole bench and knock out everything. So really heads up play from Brent here to recognize that. All right, now we're gonna watch what actually happens on Henry's turn after this grasping draw. And like you can see, Brent's hand's pretty good. He has Vessel plus E-Switch for next turn, so he's gonna really get going. And Henry just has to play Ono, right? So he doesn't get that value from that Noctowl in his hand, and now he doesn't have Terapagos. So he's kind of at the mercy now of just drawing like good cards here. Like you need to draw like Stretcher, Terapagos, Noctowl in this hand. And even then his turn wouldn't be that powerful. If you look at Henry's hand, he draws like Double Turbo and he draws Noctowl. But he can't really do anything with this hand because he has no way to get the Terapagos down. And he's gonna have to pass again. So now if you're Brent, you can like, okay, maybe now I can attack this turn, right? But I'm gonna see if we can get a good angle of his hand. But if you look at his hand, he actually doesn't really have draw. If he wants, he can go Drago, attach, and he can attack. But then what's his follow-up on the turns after? He doesn't really have much. So you're going to watch Brent again. He's actually going to decide to go for another Cleffa turn. And I think it makes perfect sense because if Henry had like Rare Candy Pidgeot, for example, or if Henry had a way to probably start establishing his board, he would have done it last turn. So like the lesson I like to take away from this kind of is understanding when your opponent can't progress their board, or like trying to use contextual clues to kind of guess what might be in their hand, right? So Brent is like very confident that Henry's hand isn't that strong, or he's kind of stuck, which he is, and he's going to take advantage of that, and he's just going to have another turn where he's going to do Cleffa. So like he gets his hand down to 1, I think. Yeah. Then he just attaches out the Drago just in case Henry somehow does have the nuts and takes a knockout. But now this is really nice for Brent because we're going to have the opportunity to just basically make 2 fully powered up Dragos before Henry has a chance to do anything. Yeah, back to Henry. Look again, like his hand is, it would be good if he had a bench space and Terapagos, but yeah, so just I don't know again and hope he hits something. So so now Henry does get Rare Candy Pidgeot. So he can finally start playing the game. And then he is going to quick search for the Stretcher to grab the Dusclops. And the reason he stretches for Dusclops this turn without popping it is because he doesn't want the Duskull to die to Phantom Dive. So he's going to do that. And now for Brent, I think now we're finally ready to attack. Because now it's like, okay, Henry can actually start doing something on the next turn. But now, like Brent, he gets to basically do his first attack without having a V-Star power. And he basically has another fully powered up Drago behind the first one that he's going to use. So it's like just extremely difficult for Henry to deal with this board now. Because Brent is going to have to get to save his V-Star power. And then like get the first 2 prize cards here. So we don't have to watch more from here. The game basically just plays out that Brent's just going to win because he got too far ahead from this position. But I just wanted to highlight it because of like how smart that was for Brent to understand the situation that my opponent actually wants me to take a knockout. And they're kind of counting on that. And instead flipping the table and being like, all right, I'm going to be the one who plays slow. And I'm going to play the game on my terms and my pace until I'm ready to really go. So yeah, this whole match is fantastic. I recommend watching it. I have a VOD view in my Medify group, but let me know what you guys think of this style of video. If there's any games or plays from stream matches, let me know. I'm more than happy to analyze them and make more videos like that. But other than that, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed the content, and I will see you guys next time.